The news was loud, unexpected, and unavoidable like a lightning strike. As soon as Tamar received the message, she dropped her phone. She thought the room was vibrating because her heart was beating so rapidly. Beside Tamar Braxton, in the corner of the screen was a screenshot, an unusual name, a test result, and HIV+ written in a chilly medical script. Red circled as if someone wanted to see it. Everything. Inside whispers went global in a matter of minutes. Discussions broke out among the group. Timelines were overrun with comments, and accusations appeared online more quickly than the truth was able to breathe. After that, things got worse. Mendeecees, Sears, who was already under pressure due to claims that he was involved in a personal medical dispute, was observed being let out of authorities' studio facilities. Fans screamed, cameras flashed, and the audience became confused, like smoke strangling oxygen, uncertain whether she was the victim, the target, or the bait. Tamar remained motionless with trembling hands. Yandy, meanwhile, didn't cry or say anything when she was on the phone looking for answers. Lawyers are already creating documents, but no one could tell what was genuine. The world smelt of blood, but no one knew what had been leaked or by whom. Everyone had the same question all of a sudden. Was this the start of a disagreement, a scandal, or a plot? Prior to this, nothing in their nightly life gave any indication of the impending chaos. Tamar has been concentrating on re-establishing appearances, singing, mending past wounds, and attempting to rediscover herself following years of emotional upheavals in public. People have forgotten how susceptible they become when they mix together entertainment and reality. She has experienced public humiliation, heartbreak, and friendships shattered by cruel remarks that could never be undone. She would never stop smiling on stage, though, as if nothing had ever hurt her. But those who were close to her, where she knew in private that she had big, jewel-like scars that were barely noticeable. She started using her alone time as a therapeutic tool. Looking through her emails, she never sent any. She never spoke, but practiced rebuttals. I prayed that God heard what the internet couldn't comprehend. Mendeecees, on the other hand, had a different life. A man who discovered early on that survival sometimes takes precedence over peace. His background was loaded with opportunities, victories, and disappointments. As he achieved stability, his family turned into his pillar of support. Even if a man no longer desired drama, celebrity never lets him forget who he once was. Like shadows, rumors trailed him. Some are made up for clicks, some are twisted, and some are true. He became hardened by it. Instead of responding to danger, he learned to breathe and live in harmony. But even calm males become agitated when their family members' poison is connected to this name. In settings where women were undervalued, Yandy had always been the strategist. Intelligent, clever, and powerful, she quickly came to the conclusion that business and love could never coexist in harmony. Despite public criticism that she was domineering, aloof, or overly calm, she defended her family. They had no idea the sacrifices she had made to stay. She never cracked a smile while she handled contracts like war plans, handled emergencies, and fought legal fights. However, Tamar's purported test has come to light this evening. A change occurred within Yandy. Furious, not despondent, sharpened like a razor, anger encased in love. Even though they were entwined, despite their disagreeable and occasionally hostile pasts, the three of them had a strong camaraderie that was reminiscent of reality TV, music crossovers, and industry. Gatherings never truly stopped. In studios, secrets were revealed, and when the cameras stopped, people behind curtains started crying. In public, everyone grinned, but in private, they all recalled something. One of the remarks was false, a favor that was never returned. Silently, a border was crossed, before a rumor suddenly turned them against one another. They were friendly. A week before the incident started, Tamar was uncomfortable. Direct messages from people she didn't follow, and calls from unknown numbers. A strange envelope bearing the words "Truth always finds light" and lacking a signature was delivered to her home. She believed it to be fanfiction or a troll, so she kept it to herself. But it remained on her vanity like a prophecy that she was unable to shake. Mendeecees senses something growing as well. Just tension, not loudness. The kind that goes into spaces before words. It felt more like an extended handshake than a commercial transaction. As he entered, he cut off a conversation. Worry was beginning to show when he told Yandy one evening, "I feel like trouble is looking for us," and she told him not to speak dread into reality. He dismissed it as industrial paranoia. Even the internet was unaware of the underlying history that supported all of this. Yandy Tamar had been into a heated but non-aggressive altercation at a private party years prior. Loyalty was discussed. A comment regarding trust was made. There was a male involved. A project was postponed. Promises were not kept, they relocated on in public, but wounds rarely fully heal in front of everyone. Supporters remembered the argument they had missed. Moreover, wounds do not Mendeecees in the context of celebrity, rather, they hold off. Standing with trembling hands, Tamar gazed at that leaked report, recalling that earlier debate as if it were a ghost returning to seek revenge. Her phone kept ringing. Bloggers, friends, and managers who seemed to be anxious yet are insatiably interested. She disregarded them. Reality warped. Her breathing became shallow. And the room whirled. She said to herself, "This can't be real," but reality doesn't need permission. It crashes through like a storm. Meanwhile, Mendeecees noticed his name was making the rounds in the community with remarks that could swiftly ruin people's reputations. Instead of asking inquiries, they assumed things. Screenshots gained popularity, and facts are overshadowed by conjecture. His mouth was clenched as he walked around the living room, calling PR and attorneys. Before he even asked, Yandy was dressed, heels on, hair wrapped up, and prepared for battle. Before dawn, a controversy that none of them could fully resolve. "We refused to allow this to destroy us once more." Her voice was composed but forceful. The video of the arrest, the test result, the rumor, and the legal threat all seemed incredibly well planned and timed, as if someone wanted them to burn in public. Someone was playing chess behind the cameras and comments, while everyone else watched with popcorn and giving the impression that a trap had been set up long before they entered. Every historical period has a viewpoint, and half of social media users think that Tamar was the victim of a malicious disclosure. As the rumor grew, the internet became a courthouse with no judge and no need for evidence. The other half blamed Mendeecees for the test's enigmatic online presence. Hashtags arose like smoke from an invisible fire, but truth remained concealed. Retweets were destroying lives behind locked doors and gritted jaws. Tamar attempted to remain motionless, but her body refused to cooperate. Treachery seeped into her skin like frost. She reviewed the screenshot multiple times, looking for any indications of manipulation or mistakes. Who released it? Was it a hoax? Was it retaliation? Anything would imply this wasn't real. She made a private phone call to the clinic and demanded answers, her voice shaking. Despite the fact that the results were confidential, the receptionist advised her to schedule an appointment. That exacerbated the situation. Tamar's heart fell, and she hung up without saying anything more. Anger replaced fear, and anger breeds mistrust. Mistrust of names. She could only think of 3 people who would profit from having her name dragged through hell, and 2 of them were already popular. Mendeecees was attempting to maintain control over a tale that was slipping away from him like sand on the opposite side of a storm. Someone recorded him being questioned by police as he was leaving a music event. However, he was not taken into custody. The video was a brief moment that was recorded, altered, shared, and turned into a weapon. It lacked context, sound, beginning, and end. He was accused by commenters of fraud, abuse, and complicity in Tamar's health problems. The truth was unknown. Nobody was expecting it, and online verification was not required. Material is necessary. Yandy saw it with ice strategic loathing. She was calculated rather than emotive, and while everyone else freaked out, she sat at her desk in the warm. This was planned, she said. Someone wanted to see the light of her laptop, drafting statements, reviewing contracts, and scanning old correspondence that suddenly seemed suspect. We should be at odds with each other. She knew how the company worked. Scandals don't just happen. She called her lawyer at 3 in the morning. Someone lights the match. Someone makes money out of the fire. The M put the documents in a file. Medical disclosure violation, defamation, and invasion of privacy. The lawyer replied, "Are you sure?" Been cordial at first, icy later, and ended in quiet. Swiftly selects its antagonists. Backstage that night, they quarreled about allegiance, commercial matters, who backed whom, and when. Her phone rang, an unfamiliar caller once more, and she answered. A serene, unnerving voice remarked, "This was never about you being sick," and Tamar froze. Like ghosts knocking on the door, old grudges resurfaced. She always had an excuse to despise me. This has to do with who the world first believes. Who are you? In a scandal, the truth doesn't matter. The only thing that does is perception, she insisted, gently chuckling. Mendeecees opened his own envelope that evening, slipped it under his door like a threat in disguise, and saw that it contained a printed "You were never supposed to survive this quietly." Reads the red-circled clip of the footage showing him being led by police. The line disconnected. She might respond, gazing at her makeup-covered mirror. Furious, eyes blazing, he called out, "This isn't about the court. as soon as he saw she wasn't fighting a rumor but rather someone who knew exactly how to destroy reputations. This is more crucial. However, Yandy's blood froze since he was already emotionally committed. This wasn't accidental or random. Someone wanted Tamar to feel scared. Yandy was enraged. Mendeecees objected. I'm protecting my family. But Yandy was in fight mode and didn't listen to anyone. If Tamar wants smoke, she'll get it, Mendeecees said, recognizing that she had gone too far. Tamar's fingers were shaking with wrath as she drafted a long message to Yandy, accusing her of leaking her results and wanting to kill her. However, she never sent it. In an enigmatic story she posted online, she said, "You don't break a woman who knows her own truth." Fans went berserk that night, making the business feel like a battleground. Comment sections erupted. Blogs immediately captured screenshots of it, and people assumed she was referring to Yandy. Rumors doubled and sides formed like soldiers preparing for battle. But the twist had not yet materialized. Tamar, sitting alone with her phone vibrating nonstop, decided to have another look at the original screenshot. This time, instead of concentrating on the affirmative mark, she deliberately and slowly zoomed out, revealing an email heading in the upper corner that she had previously missed. Tamar's jaw fell, tears dried, and dread melted into something she never suspected. Someone she trusted, someone who had access to her private meetings, someone who was aware of her doctor, schedule, and building access code, and someone who supported her during interviews with an unbreakable, sisterly smile. Colder, she zoomed in once more and saw that the enemy was behind Tamar's shoulder rather than across from her, and that this was neither Yandy or Mendeecees' attack. Tamar's test was leaked by someone from her own camp, not a rival. And the first turn of events happened like a gunshot, according to Domain. Tamar glanced at the D names next to it were too familiar and too close to home. Her assistant, the girl who prayed with her backstage and washed her makeup afterward, and the little email heading looked like a loaded rifle. Shows Tamar's breath caught, her hands shaking. She picked up her keys and drove into the night without a coat or a plan, just one burning notion. As she drove, the city air felt slightly chilly on her skin, and headlights cut through rain that poured unexpectedly, as if the sky wanted to purify. She sought the truth from the source, the world. But storms reveal rather than purify. Betrayal doesn't always originate from adversaries. Sometimes it lurks next to your secrets. Yandy is sitting with her arms crossed, replaying Tamar's story in her head, while Mendeecees and she sit in their peaceful living room across town, surrounded by paperwork, attorneys on call, and an impenetrable tension. Post she leaked it, did she? They're lying. Someone is responsible. The internet was tearing them apart like vultures, with each comment adding gasoline. He hesitated before responding when Mendeecees' phone chimed. You were never meant to defend her, a low, distorted voice muttered. Choose your side carefully. He walked quietly up to Yandy and whispered, we're being set up. No one cared who was right, only who seemed to be wrong initially. As a chill went down his spine as the phone ended before he could reply. There was no more impromptu drama. Someone was manipulating the situation like puppet strings. In a distant area of the city, Tamar arrived outside her assistant's apartment. Lights were on, shadows moved behind curtains, and Tamar raised her fist to knock. But she paused when she heard voices inside. Her helper was not alone, and she pushed her ear to the door, her heart thumping so loudly that she could hear them. She clenched her jaw and gazed at him, and he didn't know who was doing it. But Tamar instantly recognized the second voice, the selfish, well-known female Yandy, and froze, unable to comprehend what she had heard. Why was Yandy here? Why were they conversing behind closed doors? All of a sudden, everything was upside down once more. Perhaps Yandy realized that the adversary was the one she suspected. Yandy's voice and angrily said, I told you not to rush it. You ought to have held off until the documentation was submitted. Her assistant, reluctantly, I didn't think it would, he remarked, to encourage Tamar to engage in discussions. I just shared the screenshot. Tamar's stomach dropped. Tamar hid around the corner of the corridor and took out her phone to film. Words cut through the door like razors, yet the dialogue within was subdued. Her assistant went on. Yandy's tone softens oddly, almost regretful. I didn't plan to damage her. I simply wanted to terrify her. She's strong and capable of handling a rumor. Strong doesn't mean unbreakable. You didn't need to make up medical records. Lawyers are now engaged. Blogs are going too fast. Tamar's knees went feeble. The first test was falsified by her assistant. Tamar covered her mouth to stop herself from crying, and betrayal engulfed her. Yandy walked and let out a loud breath. I was going to serve her papers first, then release statements, she continued. You leaped. Now I felt like I was attacking her. Tamar's whole universe was flipped upside down. Yandy intended to file a lawsuit following another occurrence, such as a business transaction or a dispute over a contract. But she had no intention of sharing the conclusion. Suddenly, she recalled that she had rejected Yandy's offer of a partnership last month. A brand collaboration Tamar didn't want. Tamar breathed, eyes filled with rage, betrayal, grief, she added, as her assistant gasped and Yandy's eyes widened, briefly immobilized by shock before everything erupted. It was you, Tamar. Hold on, her assistant stumbled. Tamar's phone was ringing non-stop with alerts. Blogs depicting Yandy confronting an assistant and rumors that were spreading in real time. That evening, Tamar realized, you staged a test result. With a trembling voice, Tamar pushed past her and into the apartment, saying, you leaked it. You put my life on trial. For what a deal. Yandy stepped forward and whispered, Tamar, listen to me. Forward, raising her hands like she was trying to calm a storm. But the result was fake, a fear tactic, and we needed leverage. Yandy's voice broke, not out of weakness but out of frustration. And Tamar laughed cruelly through tears, saying, I was going to talk to you first. The room was stifling and heavy, and when Tamar saw something else on the table, her wrath became cold and deliberate. You weren't taking calls, and I wasn't attempting to ruin you. Not litigation, partnership agreements, music rights, or program proposals that used Tamar's picture without her permission, but contracts with her name neatly printed across them and sealed with legal seals. Yandy looked straight at Tamar and mumbled, I warned them you wouldn't play quietly. Above Yandy is another layer, another player, someone who is in desperate need of Tamar. Someone who is under pressure to have many, and someone who stands to gain if both ladies split up in public. Tamar pondered, pulling back as a thought began to cross her mind. Who is behind this? She said at the moment. The second huge Yandy's eyes shined with something Tamar never seen when she realized that Tamar's assistant was a pawn and that Yandy wasn't the mastermind, but rather a piece. We're done. Everything was on fire if I yelled the name out. Yandy was linked to fake medical records the next morning. Tamar met the traitor after a late-night argument that makes headlines like bullets. Mendeecees concludes that the real enemy was a bigger, more powerful, once trusted someone who was watching as well. We're ready. Nobody was aware of the entire truth, but it wasn't necessary. The world had already chosen a side. Tamar's and Yandy names appeared online battlefields, leaked screenshots from sources, voice notes emerged asserting exclusives. Thousands of remarks insisted on admissions, apologies, and responses. Strangers engaged in combat as if they were within their own residences.